Culture is generally defined as a shared repertoire of practices, values, symbols, beliefs, norms, and behaviors of a group that distinguish them from others. Quebec is known to be rich in culture, and one of the areas we can look into is its lifestyle. This afternoon, we would like to present to you a unique culture that is practiced in Quebec.
What a stressful day. I have to do this and do that. Yes! Dear Alvin and Maan, I heard you're in town and would want to know if you can have a Dusang cassette today. I hope to receive your response soon. Regards, John Abbott. Dusang cassette is a French word which means 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. in English. It is the time spent by different people to have a sort of happy hour with friends. But the Dusang cassette that we are saying here is what is culturally practiced in Quebec. So be careful in inviting people for Dusang cassette, especially if you are in France.
According to history, Dusan cassette started in Paris, France in the year 1960s, when François Saga wrote a novel entitled La Chamade. The plot of this novel is about the extramarital affair of a very rich, kind-hearted gentleman and his mistress.
The businessman goes directly to his mistress after work and spends time at 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eventually, he goes home at 7 p.m. to eat dinner with his wife and family. That's the Dusan cassette in France, just so we know.
Mon amour, je vais arrêter après 15 minutes.
I got a feeling that tonight's gonna be a good night. That tonight's gonna be a good night. That tonight's gonna be a good night. A feeling that tonight's gonna be a good night. That tonight's gonna be a good night. That tonight's gonna be a good night. A feeling that tonight's gonna.
Mon Marie?
That's what it is in France after the novel was published. According to our researches, this is typically still happens even up to today. We have confirmed this information and seek the opportunity to have an interview with the history professor of John Abbott College, Professor Julien Charest.
The 5 in Paris, and in France in particular, that you guys learned about, this has existed since, probably the 18th, but at least the 19th century, if I understood the article online correctly. Now, that 5 à 7, the one where men would visit their mistresses from 5 to 7, that was limited to wealthy men in French society. Those who were wealthy enough to take time off work from 5 to 7 to go see their mistress before going home to their wife. So we're talking about the bourgeoisie. Right? We're talking about people who are upper middle class and upper class in society. Okay?
The origin of deux 5 à 7 here in Quebec is quite earlier than in France. In fact, it all started after World War II, let's say in the year 1940s. It is believed that people started to work from 8 to 5 p.m. at this period, which is after the unionization in the labor sector.
The 5 à 7 probably evolved in Quebec because of the way that work is structured here. In a sense, the 5 à 7 is a gathering with work colleagues, but after the work hours. And I think this tradition of gathering with colleagues after work has probably pretty much always existed, I think, in Quebec. Or at least since Quebec has had a strong urban life. So we're talking probably like the middle of the 19th century. But the big difference is, before the labor laws in the late 19th century, the workday in Quebec was a lot longer than it is today. I mean, it was very common for workers in the 19th century, right up until like 19 or 1910, to work 12 hours a day. So they certainly didn't work 9 to 5 before that time. So I think the idea of the 5 à 7 is that between World War I and World War II, yes, I think it's very much part of culture in Quebec.
Deux 5 à 7 is a happy hour in Quebec which starts at 5 p.m. just after the end of travail or work from 8 to 4. The people doing the deux 5 à 7 usually choose a place where they can eat some pica food and drink moderately. This is usually done by middle-class people and those with regular working schedule, and just like any other lifestyle, it changes and has evolved over time.
The 5 à 7 is a little bit more formal in Francophone society, probably because it's more recent, and probably because it started more with the elite classes of society. Whereas I get the impression, and I could be wrong, but I get the impression that in Anglophone society, the happy hour is much more about the drinking with colleagues than it is about, being work after work type of thing. Whereas in Francophone culture, the 5 à 7 is often seen as it's an extension of workday, right? So even sometimes colleagues will discuss work in a 5 à 7, things like that, which I think are maybe not as common.
Deux 5 à 7 is also considered as a stress release hours for working people. It is also a means of highs and lows, or how are yous. It's an opportunity to meet new acquaintances as well. It usually occurs in a Friday, but it can also be done during weekdays.
Officially, according to the Office Québécois de la Langue Française, or OQLF, deux 5 à 7 is a designated time wherein you meet with your colleagues or friends at 5 p.m. in a bar or a reception to socialize, de-stress, and relax before going back to their respective families at 7 p.m.
But here's another secret. The 5 à 7 is also announced to bars when they are on sale of liquors like buy 2 beers then get 1. This is illegal and not allowed by SAQ. So to make it discreetly known by people like me, you will see a deux 5 à 7 tarps or signages in bars.
Deux 5 à 7 can also be seen in other parts of Canada, but it is not as popular as it is in Quebec, and accordingly, it is not losing its popularity even among the new generation.
In conclusion, culture identifies and sets a group of people among others. It is shared and practiced by many, making it unique in its way. In Quebec, deux 5 à 7 separates the Quebecois from the rest of the world, as they focus more on the people and communication during this period, rather than the volume of alcohol that they take in. More importantly, this keeps their mental health balanced despite the odds they've been through their weak life.
Todas las baby que se reporten a
para mi reggae.
Cuando yo la vi, dije si esa mujer fuera para mí.